And welcome. This is Tagged Thanks to Victoria, every bit different. We are back with Sarah Hoskins in the house, and we're going to start with your game against Carlton. Can you believe that we are nearly halfway through the home and away season?
I'm sorry, I'm laughing, Rowie, and cutting you there because we're not going to talk about the game just yet because I brought in a surprise. I have something in my handbag.
Okay, well, I have no idea what you're going to take out of this. A teddy.
And it's a puppy!
Stop! Whose puppy is it?
So I'm puppy sitting at the moment, and I thought I would bring her in because I didn't want to leave her at home.
It looks like a teddy bear. Is it real?
Yeah, her name's Honey. I thought that, yeah, BYO dog to work day, AFL, I smuggled her in. They didn't have any security on the door, so I just brought her in my handbag.
The dog actually smells. Is that from
smells
your
like what?
doing? I thought dogs are meant to smell like babies, but there's actually another
She might have just done
over here. Honey has caused all sorts of chaos.
Okay, I'm just going to leave her on my lap for a little while. But
okay, we go back to your game. So there's a couple of things that I want to discuss in your game. So you went from being on the field to being a media star to getting a massage. So how did you do the multitasking? Yet again, you added another string to your bow. You
have to give context to this as well. It's not just in the middle of our games. So it's pretty cool actually. AFLW games, it's a little bit more personal so that we get the commentators to actually do interviews with some of the players mid-game. So while you're on the bench. Now, part of me, I nearly got the headset while I was getting a massage, but instead I thought I'd do the right thing. I'd stand up, but I'd just been hit in the ribs, and you know when you get that little sweet spot?
Yeah.
I couldn't breathe properly, so then I've run off the ground. I've obviously done a mountain of work, so I was really huffing and puffing, and midway through the interview I'm like and then still trying to talk to the commentators, so I thought I did a great job.
Yeah, look, I did as well. I thought your tan was also glowing and I was like, this girl can do it all in one day. But to talk about footy at the moment, we're obviously in the middle of our condensed fixture, and there was some cracking games over the week, but there's just so many games. So since we last spoke, you know,
you've played 2 games, haven't you?
Yeah, West Coast, and then also played against the Doggies and play Suns on Friday. So there's a lot happening at the moment. How's your body feeling?
I'm feeling good considering. I think there's so many players that have actually loved this condensed period because most of it's just footy. So like, you know, when you've got the quick turnaround, I think, you know, you talk about highs and lows and whether you're winning, whether you're losing, like you can't ride the highs and lows for too long because it's literally within 4 or 5 days, you've got another game.
Yeah, I actually was thinking to myself, I was like, I think I'm going to have withdrawals when the condensed fixture ends because I'm loving the fact that we're doing less training, that we're just like, you have to get over things pretty quickly. And like you said, you don't ride the highs and lows of it. But obviously our high performance managers have an awful lot of work to do at the moment. And we probably don't have enough data to kind of say, you know, how everyone's actually feeling and what the big picture of it looks like. But there's been some cracking games. So think about Melbourne. Freo was a great game. Ash McCarthy to score a goal on the siren. That's huge pressure point.
From 1-7 to another.
And from one Irish to another. And then you look at the Swans GWS game. Apparently it was an incredible atmosphere. So which is great that Sydney are putting on a show up there.
Well, talk to me a little bit about Collingwood because I think that has been a bit of the talk, and I'm lucky enough that I can grill you here and you can't run away, not like every other boyfriend you've had. Kidding, that was a joke. That was a bit of a dig. It has been the talk that Collingwood is probably underperforming for where you would have liked. We spoke about it last week. You came up against Western Bulldogs who hadn't won a game as well, and arguably they've been a bit of the talk as well. So can you just give us a bit of insight? I think some of the words around it was crisis mode.
Yeah, I think that's always the thing. There's always going to be an external view on what our internal looks like, and our internal is fine. We know that we're trying to build a sustainable system for the future, and we are steadfast in that. And regardless of wins and losses, we're trying to get our process right. We're trying to get our game system right. And yeah, there has been a lot of change. There has been injuries. You can't run away from those facts. But what I would say, the positive things in that is that our VFLW and AFLW program are really aligned. So any of the train-on players who've come in have been actually training with us for months. So they know our system. So it's like, you know, one in, next person up. And it's like it's not as much of a jump as you would suspect from the outside looking in. And then the other point to note is that, you know, we've got to flick around the magnets and players have got to play in different positions, which has been great, because if you look at any of the Premiership sides, you look at Brisbane, for example, each of their players can roll into 3 different positions in the game. So you don't want to be a one-trick pony as a player, but like also as a team, so that you can throw people into different positions, get them experience in that. And while you mightn't see the benefits of that now, we will see the benefits in time. So, you know, great opportunity for other players to play in different positions and learn new roles.
And talk to me about your coach as well, because I think this is really hard. I've also seen this in the media, is that, you know, he's getting a bit of about him as well. It's his first season coaching.
On this podcast, Hosko.
Well, sorry, we can beep that one out, right, Tex? I want you to like give us a bit of insight. Like, are the players still loving your coach? It's Sam, right?
Yeah, Sam, right. So Sam has been amazing, and I think obviously he came in and everything was already in place, and he's working with what he can, and he's employed people around him that are great, and we've set up something like in terms of our full structure that has been very pleasing, and we're all really happy in the system. We know that we're going in the right direction, and we all feel that but we're not getting immediate results, which is where you have to be patient and where you have to, I suppose, think big picture. But we're not even thinking big picture, we're just going process and back to the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because you can't just go, oh, like we've lost a couple of games, we ride off the season. There's so much to be gained from every game, and we just want to get all our players back, and we think that that'll happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And you know, Britt Bonici's injury isn't a long-term one. Bree should be back soon, Lauren Butler to be back soon. Lucy Cronin has been an absolute star. Speaking of rising star this week, which, like, you have to take the positives out of what is happening and celebrate the small wins, but she has been incredible. And
19 years old or young?
19 years old. But what I would say about her is she's such a wise head on her shoulders, and she's also just so balanced, mature. She doesn't seem to be fazed by even the fuss that's being made around her. So I suspect that she's going to continue to grow and continue to get better. And isn't that the thing, when younger players come into the system, you kind of go, how are they going to be? Are they going to rise to the occasion? Are they going to crumble under pressure when they get a bit of attention? How are they going to react to that? But for me, I look at Lucy and go, she's balanced, she's mature, and what you see is what you get, and her personality is the same as how she plays. But she's incredible. She's been massive for us, and can't wait to see what she continues to do.
Well, a little bright light for Collingwood in sort of some of these times is good. I do want to put a little bit of a dampener. Now, you know, on your tie as well, and for those that hadn't seen a game, her game this weekend, she did her ACL, and it's not just her first one. This is her 3rd ACL that she's done, right?
Yeah, it's devastating to see. And Anya Tighe is an incredible person as well as a player. She has it all: speed, agility, endurance, you name it, that girl has it. And I think she's been massive for Freo the last couple of years, and generally is the focal point. Every time we play Freo, it's like, who do we put on Anya Tighe? So it's a massive loss for Freo, but it's just a devastating blow for Anya herself. And yeah, I wish her the absolute best. It's one of those ones where you go, to send a message to Anya, I don't even know what to say. Like, I just feel for her so badly, and I wish her well.
But you look at it, and the same question, I literally sit there and don't want this upon anyone, but you know, how old is she now? In her 30s as well? Yeah. I look at the way that she's playing her football, and she isn't missing a beat. So in your 30s, to come back from this. Well, yes. Well, I'd sit there and go, please come back from this. But like, you've got the support of all of us.
Like, if you're stepping inside her mind for a second, like, what are you thinking?
Yeah. Well, you've got to look at, you know, it's life outside of football too.
Process as well. Also, another player that I really want to talk about, because when I watched the Carlton versus Richmond game, I noticed something and I couldn't believe my eyes, is that Mon Conti was left free for the day.
Yeah.
So is Mon in career best form, or was like how to play Mon, how not to play Mon? But for me, I watched it and I was like, she just seemed to be in open space all the time and had much time and space to make decisions.
I know, and I think it's so fascinating. Mon obviously came off winning the League BNF last year, and she's had a lot of attention in these early couple of rounds. But as you mentioned, she was left to roam sort of free for most of the game. And that's not to take any credit away from probably some Carlton players, because I'm sure at some stages they were on her and trying, but Mon is a phenomenal player. So I think I've loved watching her develop her game, and obviously last year she had some great individual rewards for her effort, but then to see how she has to work through growing her game when she gets attention, when she gets tagged, to then play a selfless role or finding different avenues to still be able to impact and influence, but also bring her teammates in. I think that's what's impressed me the most. And I think she had a great individual performance on the weekend that allowed, to bring her teammates in. But she's just growing and developing week in, week out. And she's got to be one of the most consistent athletes I know, from on field, off field. She is phenomenal.
Yeah, well, you look at these players and you go, they don't get there by accident.
No.
And she always looks to be unfazed by, even if she does have a tag, and she seems to be able to work her way through all the time. Obviously, she had a massive impact against Carlton, but generally she still has a massive impact, and her decision making under pressure is one of the best, is the best in the league, I would say.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I wanted to bring up, speaking of goals, the Hosko Cup. Talk to us about that.
Well, Jess and I didn't get to play each other. Jess is obviously at West Coast. So that was the Hosking Cup. So imaginary. I don't think there's actually
So explain the Hosking Cup.
Well, essentially, Jess and I used to play together, but then if we get a chance to play against each other, it becomes a Hoskins Cup. Now, one of her teammates' partners made a little trophy for round one, but then I didn't get to play. So hopefully
does it not
next
exist
time.
for the season, like as in who has the best season then?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, yeah. So now I think there's been a little bit of whispers just from you, not external. It's not like it's a big deal, but it's turned into maybe a leading goal kicker Hosking Cup.
Yeah, so Hosko's other Hosko, Jess Hoskins, stepped up to take a goal against Pies. Did you see the footage of why I was laughing after?
Yes, because it was against you. So I actually have some feedback for you, and I haven't told you this
go.
because Jess said, she said, make sure you tell Rowie this. Apparently, Rowie was sledging me, but I'm deaf. So remember how she perforated her eardrums and had to have surgery? She couldn't hear anything you were saying.
Well, it explains that all her teammates could hear me because they all started bumping me after the goal, and I was like, Jess was non-responsive, and I was like, wow, there's ice in her veins. She didn't react at all, and I was kind of like, oh, she hates me now. I was like, it was only a joke. I was kind of like, Jess, it was only a joke, like, come on, it's all, but anyway, I was sledging, but I was saying things about you that we will not say.
Please,
we'll tell you off air.
Share. I'm sure
we better not, Hosko. We better not.
Well, so also to the point, I ended up catching up with the Marmalade boys after our game against Carlton, and they asked me the same question around Jess and I, and who Marmalade boys. No, of course you don't. You live under a rock. The Div 12 Resi boys.
Okay, yeah.
You know?
No.
Oh my God, Rowie, where have you been?
Okay, go. Sometimes I just don't take heed. Anyway,
so Checkers. He does DJ.
Look, it's just
does
one
remixes.
Of those things. I'm gonna go. Yeah, continue.
Right, okay. I'm gonna stop talking to Rowie. I'm just gonna talk to the audience. So the boys asked me about putting something on the line for whoever ends up being leading goal kicker. So I have agreed that out of Jess and I, whoever finishes higher on a leading goal kicker by the end of the season, the loser will shave their eyebrows. Eyebrows, either or. I'm not sure.
You must be really confident. Are you confident? What's the score now? So how many goals has Jess
We're
got?
even, I think.
Okay.
So I've missed a game. I missed round one.
Yeah.
Jess kicked 2 goals. I've kicked 2 goals in 2 games. Didn't kick anything last week. Jess missed last week. She's on 4 as well. We're both on 4. So it's even at the moment.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So to be continued.
To be continued.
Speaking of goals, I want to talk about a guy, and we have to bring it back to Pies all the time, but Nick Dacos, for a second year in a row, second in the Brownlow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huge news. Brownlow last night, obviously.
Yeah.
So Paddy Cripps wins, but Nick Dacos to come second twice at such a young
age. At the age of 21.
But not only did he come second this year, he still broke the all-time votes record. It was just a shame that Paddy Cripps broke it even better.
it's unbelievable to see such a young guy. Like, how does he deal with all the pressure? And I suppose everyone was looking at him. I looked at it last night and I was thinking, the cameras in their face all the time. You can't hide your reaction or anything. But he's been an absolute credit to the club, and the club are so proud of him and what he's achieved. And again, at the age of 21, you just go, like, what is ahead of this guy? Like, he's such a bright future.
I feel like Nick and Josh are the sole reason that anyone that hated Collingwood now half like them. Because I'm telling you, Collingwood were they've got to be the most hated team in the competition from a club perspective, like diehard fans.
Yeah.
But even I found myself sitting there off the back of their like premiership year, almost cheering for them when they were in the finals. I'm going, what is happening? Like, my dad taught me to hate Collingwood.
Yeah, I never understood this theory that everyone hated Collingwood. So when I first came over, I signed with Collingwood, and then someone would ask you, what are you doing over here? And I'd be like, I'm playing footy. They'd be like, for who? And I'd say innocently, Collingwood. And the reaction I would get every time, I go, why do you hate Collingwood? So I realised quickly that people love to hate them or hate to love them, whatever way you want to look at it. But I never understood that concept. But obviously it does ring true. And I think the Dacos brothers, they just come across as picture perfect, and they do everything right. And they're just, credit to the club.
Yeah, well, we spoke about Nick. I want to chat about Paddy Cripps quickly, because it is huge. Like, to be able to win his second Brownlow, he got, how many votes was it? 45 votes. That is huge. He smashed the record. I think, what was the record? 36 or something? Yeah, 36 or 37 votes previously, and to absolutely annihilate that. He single-handedly is carrying Carlton on his shoulders. Like, you can sit there and... Did you watch some of the speech at the end? Not his. He was getting interviewed, and it was about the locker room talk.
No, I missed that part.
It was so funny. I don't know, this might get cut out, but if it doesn't, this is the funny part. So he's getting interviewed saying that he went to boarding school when he was in high school, but he was a late bloomer. So he's in year 11 feeling like he's like a 11-year-old child, and he's saying the boys are walking around the locker room with the towels over their shoulders while he's wrapping it around his waist. And then I think it was Andrew Dillon who was interviewing him. No, it wasn't. Hamish McLaughlin, who interviewed him, goes, oh, well, don't worry, I think you'd be the one with the towel around your shoulder now. So it was a moment that had everyone in absolute stitches.
He comes across as such a humble, mature, just head on his shoulders type guy. Like, I'd say a great teammate and just like a really good person.
Yeah.
But when you talk about locker rooms and talk about people leaving locker rooms, I really, really wanted to see my good old Irish friend Zach Toohey have the fairy tale ending that I thought he deserved. So I was devastated to see Geelong lose against Brisbane, but it was a cracking game. Can we talk about it for a minute? I saw the tagline, and I have it written down here: if you're on thin ice, you may as well dance. And I was like, what does that mean? So obviously Brisbane play with this kind of element of risk, and you could see that in the dying moments of the game and the pressure points and how that they just rose to the occasion. And you look at them last year in the final against Pies and go, the weight of emotion that they would have been holding from this time last year to the prelim. And you wonder, does that get them over the line? And is that what spurred them on? But obviously that's been their tagline for the year. So you kind of wonder what's the behind the scenes on that.
Well, the experience. I think you've gone through this experience already. And, you failed the first time essentially. So this second time round, it's like, we don't leave anything out there. Like, make sure you learn from your mistakes, you learn from your experience. And, I think who do you think's going to win? Here's my question for a second.
Who do I think and who do I want? I think Brisbane will win, but I want Sydney to win.
Well, Oscar McInerney out is huge. So what I'm doing now, you can probably hear some sound effects. I'm currently ripping up a piece of paper because I thought we'd have a bit of fun. Okay. So grand final's coming up this weekend. We both love a little bit of a prank, a little bit of fun. So I'm going to write down both teams.
Yep.
And we're going to pull the name out of the hat, essentially. Yep. So you're going to get Brisbane, I'll get Sydney, or vice versa. And whoever's team loses this weekend, we're going to stick with a theme of blind. So we're going to do a blind tasting. And this will make sense when you listen later in the episode, because there's something else. I'll give you a little hint. Blind date that's coming up. Yep. Okay, so I'm just going to write the teams down for a second. All right, so I've got 2 pieces of paper. You're going to go left hand or right hand?
Okay, I'll go left hand.
There you go.
Thank you.
Big reveal. Open it up.
Okay, you ready? I have got
And
the
show
team
it
I
to the
didn't
camera.
want,
Show it to the
Brisbane.
camera. Right up
Brisbane.
there. And obviously I have Sydney. Ta-da. All right. So if Brisbane lose, you have to do a blind tasting, and we will be doing this on Tagged.
Okay.
Okay? Done.
Perfect.
Okay, Rowie, we are going to jump into our Tagged list. So thanks to Victoria, every bit different. Now I want to know, tell me what you are tagging this week.
So this week I'm tagging something that I do every night before I go to bed. I read 1 page of a book. So I always think when people say you need to read 10 pages a day or whatever, I'm like, it's a lot to achieve on top of the other a million things I need to do. So this is 1 page. It's called the Daily Stoic.
Stoic.
Oops. The Daily Stoic. So you read Stoic.
Yeah,
Well,
gotcha.
language
I
barrier
wasn't sure if
again.
you said the Daily Stalk, whether it's like you're going through your Instagram.
Oh my God. Here we go again. So basically every day you read a page and it has a message in it. And then I generally read it and then take that message into my next day with me. So say today's message was take imperfect action. And then it's a story around why you shouldn't plan everything all the time in your life because you spend your whole life planning and doing nothing. Just sit in the doing space and keep doing. So basically it gives me a bit of motivation, inspiration every day.
And
So
you can get those books, or you can get the book from like a normal bookstore.
anywhere.
Like,
Yeah.
Cool. Love that.
365 days a year. So tell us, what is on your tag list?
Well, I'm going a location, given, as I mentioned, we're in Victoria. So sometimes we try and give a few different locations, recommendations of places to go. Now, have you been to Phillip Island?
No.
No. Okay, great. Of course you haven't, because you live under a rock. I am tagging Phillip Island in general, the area, but I've got a couple of things that I'd suggest and recommend people go and do. So Cape Woolamai Circuit Walk is stunning. So you obviously haven't been there. It is so nice. You walk around the cliff tops, but you can also see the beach. So it reminds me of like one of those, you know, like the little wheat fields. A really picturesque style thing.
Yeah.
You know, you're walking through the wheat fields. It reminds me a little bit of like the Beatles, you know, how they do all those photos and you can, really cool. So that is a really stunning walk. Highly recommend, especially coming into some warmer weather. The other one is go-karting. Now it's called the Phillip Island Go-Karts. Pretty
Okay,
boring.
I'm definitely going to go there.
It is great. I am amazing at go-karts. Now I went with a couple of girls.
If you say so yourself.
I won. So you can't. I got the lap record for the day.
Yeah.
I beat Jess Hosking, my sister. Maddie Shevlin was there, and our high performance manager, Eliza Morrison. So I am pretty happy with my performance. This was a few months back, but I also just wanted to let them know that I won. And then I'm lastly going to drop in as well. So especially I think there's teams, whether it's men's, women's, local footy at the moment that has just wrapped up. And I'm going to shout out Hotel Phillip Island, which is the pub that's on the strip there, because it's good fun. I think I've been there for one of my end of season trips, and they house you. They're great. They're amazing.
Perfect. That's where we'll go in the off season.
Yes, exactly. Go down for a nice pot and palmer, a little champagne.
Yes, exactly. And we've a massive week ahead of us with the AFL men's grand final, and it's probably time we wrap it up, but we do have to reflect on another big occasion that we have coming up this week.
I'm nervous.
Have footy,
I'm nervous.
you have media, you know, you name it, it's on. And there's one more thing that we have coming up.
You've thrown us under the bus.
I've thrown us under the bus, yes. So Hosko, you and I are going on a blind date next Monday prior to the tag show. So we'll have lots to discuss on the show.
Now, this is the thing, though. It's a blind date for me. Because you know what's happening.
I'm giving you no context.
Nothing. So
I want to throw you under the bus.
can you give us their names, please?
I can't give you the names because the names in general will probably give you the ick before you even start.
Come on, tell me now. You have to now. Drop it.
I can't, just in case
You
you're
have
listening.
to.
I'm sorry.
You have to leave the
Stay tuned. Leave the listeners wanting more, you know? Okay, Hosko, that's enough. We're wrapping up about the blind date. You know this podcast, Tagged, is a vodcast and a podcast. And send in your question to tagged@afl.com.au. Next week we have Emma Moore on the show, and a massive thank you to Honey, our special guest today.
Little dog, she's been sitting on my lap all day. But also, remember, Tagged will be live at the MCG in the lead up to the grand final as part of the AFL Footy Festival. So Rowie will be joined by Tagged's family member, Kate McCarthy, on stage from 4 to 4:30 tomorrow on Wednesday, before credit to the girls who will be on at 4:30 to 5. And it turns out I might actually be available now. So I might stand in the crowd and ask you some, I was going to say ask some questions, but instead I will give you some heckling. And that's all from us today. Thank you very much. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.